ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to technically the 395th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. We are 5 away from the big 400, but I think we'll probably do our classic GV thing and stretch out because we've never decided. Sometimes reviews count, sometimes they don't, but our 6 years coming up, so we'll probably find a way just to stretch it. Our numbers are the most fraudulent thing of all time, but you know what not fraudulent is? My name, Travis Snail. That's real. That's all it is, and I am the go watch our charity stream right now. When you're listening to this, we'll be on the air on YouTube. That is my nickname. Go check it out. I'll give you a bunch of details in a second, but I'm joined by the resident Conjuring fanboy, I'd say. Well,
yeah. I've done
we'll
every movie in the Conjuring verse, so I think that counts.
Introduce yourself, and then I have a question.
I am the Ghostbuster Taylor Field.
So you are definitely a bigger fan of the universe. You're a bigger fan of these films, but do you think it might be fair to say that I'm a bigger fan of The Conjuring, the first one, more than you? Like just that film alone. Like, do you have that? Do you?
I think
one of the greatest horror movies all time.
In terms of just The Conjuring, I think you are definitely the bigger fan.
Yes.
It's definitely a fantastic movie, but it is not like my favorite go-to horror movie. Yeah. I can't hear you. Uh-oh. I can't hear you. Oh no, what happened? Well, I'm just going to keep talking here. We're experiencing slight technical difficulties. But yes, I am the Ghostbuster Taylor Field. So to start off with some plugs, you can find us in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. And be sure to check us out on our Patreon as well, because you can get early exclusive ad-free episodes on there, including the Harry Potter retrospective, which is something that me, Dylan, Jessica, and Kirklin managed to pile through, and that is all all 8 films actually. Oh, I think I hear a Travis.
Oh, that's quite a bit. You doing the beast?
And he's back. Yeah. I was worried you were getting possessed or something over there.
I have no idea. The mic's done that a few times, so I'm not sure if it's the side on my Mac or if it's I just have something loosey-goosey on the Shure microphone. But either way, I figured it out. And if that happens again, just let me know. But yeah, like I said, head over to Patreon. You have that. You got a bunch of other exclusive stuff. The Hobbit retro's up there, which one day will go public. But we're waiting for Lord of the Rings TV show. That's been recorded for like 4 years, but it's just exclusive and everything like that. So tons of stuff is up there, ad-free, early and exclusive. Now that Kelowna and where we live, BC, restrictions are gone, we're going to be able to start doing commentary tracks. And I think the next 4 we have up are we're going to be doing the Spider-Man 2 and 3 with Toby, and then the Andrew ones. Because before we knew that the Toby movies, before we knew that Spider-Man 3 is going to be this big crossover, we were going to do a Spider-Man film every year, but I thought, no, we should do them all before the big one. So check out that. As I said earlier, who knows when you're listening to this, but if you were listening to this on June 5th, there's a chance you might just saw Conjuring, and then you're listening to this, you might go, oh, hey, I like these guys, or hey, what's the stream? The stream is happening currently. Right now, we're doing a 14-hour stream, tons of events. Just head over to Twitter and Facebook. Title matches for Gauntlet, movie commentary tracks, an After 9 call-in show where anybody can call in, not just the patrons. We're giving the link to everybody. Taylor takes. It's going to be a really fun time. It's our first cast, live stream together in person in over 7 months. So it's going to be a joyous time. It's going to be a fun time. So definitely check that out. And then the next few weeks, we got a whole bunch of E3 content next week. We'll be doing, I think, at least 4 days. It'll be a combination of myself, Taylor, Dylan, and maybe we'll have a guest or two. And then Loki will be starting up on the Wednesday. So tons of stuff. But let's talk about this new edition of the CCU, the Conjuring Cinematic Universe.
CCU.
Not that there's any other Conjuring universe, but they should get on that. They got to get a comic books and a game going on. But Taylor Phil, what did you think of this news edition of The Conjuring, of the CCU? Because this is the first Conjuring movie without James Wan. He wrote the story, but he didn't direct it like the first 2. But obviously, this is like the motherlode. This is the Avengers, the Iron Man of this universe. As far as, this is the big head honcho. We've had Annabelle's, we've had La Llorona, we've had, what else have we had? We had the Nun, all these things. So, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go first.
Okay. Taylor also has technical difficulties. So myself, as we have some little banter back and forth, The Conjuring, to me, I remember, again, go back, I think I've told the story before, but funny enough, when I saw The Conjuring for the first time, the speakers blew and we thought it was part of the movie. It was not. But when I saw that, I just felt I had seen something special, and I still feel that way. I know some people, after time, like, oh, it's a little bit basic, this, that. No, for me, it's for sure in the top 10, but honestly, like, I could sit down and make you an argument of, I think it's the greatest horror movie of all time. I know that's huge praise. I'm also a massive James Wan fan. Check out, we just reviewed Spiral, which is a whole, evolution of, he created Saw and whatnot. So ever since I saw, I was a massive fan of James Wan Lee Winnell. I liked Insidious. I love Aquaman, and I love the first Conjuring. Conjuring 2, I was very meh on. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I just went, this wasn't for me. I think all the problems in that movie were story and script issues. But at the same time, I wasn't like, you know what, get rid of James Wan for the third one. With James Wan being gone, I don't want to say quite worried, because I quite worry about other things in my life. But as far as a film with Conjuring 3, I was like, well, he's the master of this universe, and I like some of those other Saw movies, but when he left, you lost a little something. So when he was not on for the third one, I was a little worried. And then when it was the director of Chris Larrona, I was like, because I watched it in preparation for this. It was fine, but it's nowhere near, like, to me, James Wan's like like, when you think of like the greatest horror directors, I think James Wan's already on that level, and he's a pretty young dude. Like Saw, Insidious, Conjuring. He wrote a bunch of other stuff too. He's produced stuff like Lights Out. So he's created a nice little cinematic universe here. So I was like, I'm going to worry about this. And I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't have much hype for the film, because just the way COVID's been, because of delays and whatnot, it's like, oh, we should have got it for a while. And it's been a joke in our group for a while, Conjuring the Devil Made Me Do It. But I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised too, because like I said, I was not the biggest fan of Chris Larrona. I thought it was fine, but it was like, is this guy really the one that should be taking over for James Wan? I like the new. It has a similar approach as always, but it has a new approach. I like the twist on the new demonic things, or the villains, if you want to call them that, in this movie. I really like that. I liked a lot of the visuals. I think it's more akin to the tone of the first one, which I like. The second one was very slow paced, where this one I think is the most fast paced out of all of them, which I think hurts it sometimes. Is like, it's not a big spoiler, but like literally first scene in the movie, it's like shit has hit the fan and everything's going bad. Where the first Conjuring, you got Annabelle, but really it's like this nice build up and everything. So there's I think some pacing issues that feel like I miss a little bit the James Wan's kind of style of slowly going through things, living in this world, where this movie can at times move really fast. But I liked the route we went more than the second one. I think it was a good variety while keeping with it. I liked that the villains, or like I said, demonic people, were something, of course, in this realm, but they felt different. They felt unique in this world that I've known a part of. I'm trying to think what else. The cast is really good. Like we talk about this all the time, but kid actors are just so damn good. And Vera Farmiga, who is phenomenal. Been in love with her ever since Departed. And then Patrick Wilson continued to deliver. They do a good job. There's some good scares in here. Score was pretty good. Yeah, I think it was a really fun kind of adventure Conjuring one. I would put this as maybe I've not watched the other Annabelles, so I gotta watch those. I only watched the first one when I was out. I meant to watch this before, and I just didn't get around to, because I've been busy. But so barring that, I've seen every other one. I would put this like second, right before or right after the other Conjuring. But yeah, I think if you enjoy this universe, you'll like it. If you just watch the Conjuring films, I think you'll like it. If you don't like horror, those movies. To me, the Conjuring, the very first one, was like, even if you don't like horror movies, you should watch this, because it's a masterclass of a horror movie. This, I think, is like, it's a good addition, but it's not a masterclass. There's some really fun moments and creepy moments, but Conjuring has several iconic moments that I will always bring up, like the witch on the wardrobe. Like when that moment happened, that is a huge moment. Or like the hair, the clap game. Like there was, if for one film to have so many iconic scenes and moments, is pretty impressive. Where this has some really cool imagery, some cool scares, and yeah, we'll talk about spoilers. I'm not sure if we'll ever get a fourth one. I would want one, but at the same point, I think they have made this so you could be happy with it being a trilogy and moving on to different characters or different. And it's not a spoiler. We know that, like, if you look into it, you know the story of their lives. I'm just saying that I think you could end it here, not the universe, but the Conjuring, the Warren's tale. You could end it here, and I'd go, you know what? That was a solid 3-part journey, and it was a really good trilogy. So those are my thoughts on the Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Well, it's funny because you talk about trilogy, and it makes me have like a thought, because this is much of a spoiler, but the name change. They didn't call it Conjuring 3. They called Conjuring specifically 2. So it makes me wonder if this is a segue to more Conjuring films.
What are you
Um,
saying?
like The Conjuring 2 was called The Conjuring 2, but this was
Okay.
not called Conjuring 3. I just find that very interesting. So it makes me wonder what their plan is in the long run for the
You messed
films.
up your sentence and you said this was called Conjuring 2. I was like, what the fuck did I miss? They called
Oh,
this film Conjuring 2?
yeah,
What is
big
Conjuring 2
change.
now? Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah, no, I think it's also that just Hollywood is trying to get away from numbered titles though nowadays, right? They don't
mm,
want you to feel like you are, oh, I gotta watch so much stuff. They want to just be like, oh, you could go watch this scary movie. Like I think they, in general, number titles will kind of go away.
mhm. Um, yeah, the film had when you said that it's got elements of that first film, I definitely agree. It definitely has similarities. I like it a lot more than the second film. I definitely like the first one the most, but
Mhm.
this one in its own right was good. It definitely, I feel like, relied a little too much on CGI in some aspects, and I think that was one of the shortcomings of the second one as well. But
Really, I don't remember there being that much CGI in the second one because that's
the
what I was gonna
second
point
one
out.
had that one like this the skinny
The Crooked
man or whatever,
Man,
the crooked
yeah,
man.
he
That was
sucked.
the one that was what butchered it for me a bit
Yeah.
because it was so CGI heavy.
I think other than that, though, there's not too much, and that's what I was gonna say. I think that for me was a sign that James Wan didn't direct this, where he'll use CGI, but it feels like he's always trying to be as practical as possible. Where this movie
Mhm,
did have a lot of we'll just CGI it, like whatever,
mhm,
we'll just do it. And I'll agree with you. I think it affected you more than me, but it definitely stood out a lot more.
mhm. Oh, it only affects me so much because like with these other films in the universe, the CGI is so monotone. Like the Annabelle movies again, I can't recommend those enough. Like they get progressively better from the first one they did to the last one they did with the Warrens in that one. That one where it's like literally you're trapped in the Warrens' house and their whole shop of horrors is just coming loose. It's terrifying.
I'm
So
not saying don't watch the other two because I do want to watch those. I'm just saying you could skip that first one. You do not need to watch the
you
original
could you
Annabelle.
could you could skip it. It ties into more of this the backstory when you watch the second one, Annabelle Creation.
Oh,
Annabelle Creation is absolutely freaky. But yeah,
yeah, I
Annabelle
will watch
Coming
that.
Home. I think I bought that one too. I think I own the whole trilogy of the Annabelle movies. Not that I'm bragging or anything.
I can't believe Annabelle got a trilogy before this did, but
Yeah,
continue.
that's crazy actually. But yeah, I think that this movie it'll stand on its own for quite some time. I think it was definitely some good scares. It got me at times, and gosh, since I've been kind of, which there's going to be a reveal for this tomorrow's charity stream, but when I've gone down this whole kind of alternative path, it's really kind of opened my eyes to even paralleling alongside the things that they go into in this movie, and it's freaky. It really is freaky because what they do in this is very different from the elements of the first two films. And it's interesting how you can use ghosts, demons, all that stuff to actually create like a twist in the story and have something fresh that I'm sure it has been done before in other movies, but I can't off the top of my head pinpoint something. To me, this movie was doing something unique in its own right, and it's the first one to bring it to the big screen, I guess you could say, that I can recall, and I think that was executed very well. So I'm excited to get into spoilers.
Anything else you'd say? Non-spoilers?
Score was very good, like classic
Yeah.
tunes, but yeah.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to take our first ad break, and then if you've not seen the movie, if you're planning to, you can jump out now and come back, or if you don't care, just keep listening. And we are about to get into spoilers just after this. All right, so we are back. We are here to talk about Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. Spoiler. So Taylor Field, where would you like to start with this?
Uh, I am down to start off with the very beginning. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
there's a few things I have to note during this review, but yeah, I'm down to start at the beginning, which is
Have to
Exorcist
know.
going wrong, and
Have to
yeah.
know. Yeah, so I will say, so it's tough because you're talking about stuff you've hinted about, that you're announcing on the charity stream, so that's good. And then, like, I think this falls into a similar realm as far as the believing in ghosts and the believing in all this stuff. And I'm somewhere very much in the middle of it all, because I'm somebody that I might believe there's certain, it's tough because I'm not a religious person. I don't necessarily believe in God and hell and everything like that. But at the same point, I could believe in like sort of spirits. But at the same time, I've never had an experience. I've never met anyone that's really had an experience. So it's tough of like,
I think that's a good thing.
well, it is, but like, and that's what I mean is like, so there's like a suspension of disbelief, right? And I think that's one thing though. So like the opening scene, like the segment, I guess I did like because it reminded me a lot of the first one. I was like, it's a whole family together. They're trying to figure out what's going on. The kids possessed, everything like that. I think those are all good stuff. I imagine that's where you had some problem with CGI, like when the kid was turning around and
No,
stuff like
that
that.
wasn't it
No,
for me. No,
okay.
that the turning around stuff, like you could tell it was CGI, but I was too like freaked out. Like there, I've heard accounts and stuff and everything, and like especially like recordings of audio and stuff. And when there's the physical, um, like the body's doing physical things that they shouldn't be doing, it gets to me. It freaks the living shit out of me. So, but in terms of like the CGI being on point or not so well done in that scene, I wasn't paying attention to it. I was just paying attention to the fact that this kid was breaking into poses he physically should not be, because it freaks me out.
Okay, then I'm excited later to talk about more of CG because I first, because that's an exorcism trope, right? Of character bends or breaks in certain directions, like you said, they're not supposed to. But I think with this, like, there's literally a part where like his body's just like folding over each other, and
Oh,
but for me though, that's the problem where I lost the factor, because I think later on with Arnie when he was in the bed and he's like jolting up and his spine's like cracking, I liked that because it was simple. It felt even not believable. I shouldn't say that in this world, but I don't know. It looked believable. Where this, the kid would be so CG and he looked a little rubbery. Where it's like, okay, this doesn't really make me go ugh, because it's just, oh, this is a computer doing this. Where with other scenes with Arnie later on, I think they did a good job. Maybe it's because he's an older guy and they could find ways to do it. Where the kid, you can't be like, hey, you're gonna bend like this, and So I do understand that. I think though, where for me, I was kind of wavering on the film because, like I said, it has that vibe, the first one, but they definitely, I would say, this is the most, like, this is the grandest scope as far as a Conjuring movie. There's some huge set pieces here, and I think that for me, for a movie, it doesn't hurt me, but as far as the whole based on a true story, I think it's tough because with the first one and the second one, there's moments, Bathsheba when she fully breaks down stuff, but there's moments where it's very realistic. It's a person that looks a little bit different, but now they've taken over. But this is sometimes like this demon goes in their body, their whole face changes. There's moments where when the kid was screaming, like all the windows and stuff are moving around, all the glass breaks and shatters, especially Arnie near the end when he's in the like the prison hospital and he's like floating. There's all these lights flickering, and the glass explodes. Now, the first one, I think when they go based on true story, I could believe that in the way of, I think, what, there could be a chance ghosts and demonic possessions out there because it's just this one lady, it's this one case in this house. But this, like, so for the franchise, I think it's good that they went the grand scale route of like going multiple places, windows shooting, breaking, walls breaking, all this stuff. But as far as like the believability, it kind of hurt me there, in my opinion.
well,
Like, I don't think this all happened.
it's no, I think a lot of this movie was embellished a little bit. I tried digging into whatever I could, kind of case files about this and the events, but the only thing you're gonna find is, for the most part, like newspaper clipping kind of things, or just the audio that they provided at the end of this movie. As far as this happening, I don't doubt this happened, but it's not to the grandeur-ness of the all the staff of this prison saw him saw and he possessed and everything like that. That in many ways is definitely Hollywood projecting itself into this.
Yeah, but you completely believe the devil went in the guy Arnie and made him kill some people, and that's literally the devil made him do it. You're on that bandwagon.
Not necessarily. Like, again, I don't. It was a demon that was pretty much conjured, right? Like forced to be there to like mess around with this guy. The thing that, again, that made me really hyperventilate is, again, when he just so willingly was like, take me instead. Like, if you open yourself up and open that door to certain kinds of things, especially these kind of things, you got to be so careful. and yeah, he saved the kid, and I'm glad he saved that kid. But it's brutal. Holy shit.
You need some red light. Talking about the possession now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like I bought that. He's trying to save this kid. It's his future brother-in-law. He's about to marry the sister. So I bought all that. I was like, okay, this makes sense. I liked the opening scene. Other than, like I said, I thought it got a little too big. It was a little, and the whole movie's pretty big. So that's where it's like I missed the small scale in that aspect. But at the same time, it's the third one, right? And you got to make it a little bigger. You got to go all out and everything like that. And so Arnie gets this. I guess we talked about this in non-spoilers. I liked the concept of the villains, demons, whatever you want to say, is because the first two we've had, it's a house or they find a burial ground, whatever, and it's just one single, demonic possession, and it's usually that where it's something that has possessed a person, a child, stuff like that. They got to get out of them. I like that this wasn't exactly a possession; it was like a curse. Again, I don't know that. Again, hurt my my realism, but I'll stop talking about that because it's the Conjuring after all, and like Taylor says, embellished. But I liked the idea of, and even the setup when we get to it with John Noble. The what is the steward of Gondor. Good for him. He's great actor, but I love the setup of like, okay, he was a priest. He had an interest in the dark arts, not so much as far as he wanted to be in it, but just because he was researching it, passed down to his child. The child took it a lot further than he wanted. And then I like that it was her like using witchcraft and demonic stuff to, almost possess people instead of one thing. She was forcing possessions on people, forcing them to do things. I liked all that. I liked all those creepy, like when the one had all the water in them and they were super big. I love that one shot really early on because like Taylor says, I didn't right. I guess I forgot because what's his name? Warren goes to the hospital, but or what's his name? Ed goes to the hospital because when they were just like, yeah, everything's back to normal. It's like, did no one not see Arnie just be like, take me? Like,
No, they were all like
I
knocked
know.
out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so when he woke up in the hospital, I was like, okay, good. They covered their tracks there. Because the whole time I was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, these people, the Warrens, are really shitting the bed here. But I love the setup of, and they do this multiple times throughout the movie, but he killed that guy because he saw some sort of demon. And that was the most kind of James Wan-ish segment when they're in that whatever convenience store and all the lights go out and they just have like this little red light and then that thing on all fours is just running out.
No, fuck. Oh,
Really well done. That's really James Wan because it wasn't a jump scare. It was just you just heard like, and then you saw it and a quick cut, and then that's why he killed him. And all you hear is just screams, and you hear the girl yelling no. So, and then we'll talk more about. But I really like the idea of there's this woman using curses to almost like appear like they're a possession, but they're not. And so, what did you think about this take? Because, like I said, I haven't watched them all, but Conjuring, Nun, La Llorona, even Annabelle is like there's a spirit or something attached to one thing and it's affecting others. But this is almost like sending bad spirits to people separately through like a text message or something.
Yeah. Again, curses are they're very interesting, and when they represented in this movie, I think it was very well done because again, like curses can be broken. And in this case, where they use this method to literally conjure such a dark thing in this area or in this room, like it's just.
How many times is this fucker gonna say conjure? This is the second time he said conjure.
Keep it going. I think that it's just. Yeah, it's an interesting concept how they executed it, and having this woman just full on just embrace what her father was learning, but just go that extra mile just to dish out the damage was just absolutely bonkers. And it is terrifying because she really fudges around everyone, and when she finally latches onto the Warrens, it's like, holy smokes, okay, like this is a real deal. Like we always know the Warrens have a certain degree of danger with their lives in these movies, even going to the first one with the locket, creating the gateway between two. There's your text message possession there. And then we have, well, not so much even in the second one, there wasn't really any danger for them. There was, because the nun was actually trying to kill Ed actually in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this one, just it was interesting to even have Ed become one of the villains, right? So that was very interesting. But again, I don't feel like the demon itself wanted a soul, and so this woman had to obtain one to offer it up. So you can you can tell the difference between like the demons and such, because the things that were possessing these people were very dark entities, but it was at the forefront of just this woman controlling it and basically kind of controlling their actions. The demon that is wanting the soul was very nun looking, and its eyes and everything. That's the thing that came up at the end and basically took her soul and really screwed her over. So
You think there's some connection? You think the nun's trying to make her way back because they found out her real name? So it's like, oh, I need to get back in there. I got this
well,
way.
we don't actually see what actually happens to the nun. Just the nun goes off into that farmer and they do an exorcism and the farmer kills himself or something, and that's it.
Well, and
So then
I thought I assume that the nun is like in the painting though now, isn't it? Because that was in the room again. So I feel like its soul's kind of like locked to that, or would I be
it's
wrong?
was it in their locked room again?
Yeah, when the last
Oh.
shot of the movie, when he puts that little thing down over his shoulder, you can see the painting of the nun.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Mhm.
I didn't take it. I hope it's locked in there. Keep that
'Cause
bastard in there.
I was wondering because we had heard before that they had a post credit scene planned for this. I think I'm not even said if it was
Oh.
planned or filmed, but then they cut it because they thought like the ending was really nice. And in retrospect, I do agree because like they might make a fourth one, but if they don't, I think the ending of them dancing by this thing of like they keep they keep shoehorning these flashbacks and they're nothing big but like when they met and they danced in this like gazebo and Ed like builds it from scratch into their backyard. So I think like if that's the last time we see Warrens, I think that's a good way to leave them, where if you do an end credit scene, it's the end game thing, right? That's why I said before end game, I was like, we're not going to get a post credit scene because they don't want you to be like, oh, all your heroes are gone. And then like right when you're sad, be like, yeah, but look what's coming up next. They want you to feel it. So I think it was a good route to have them get a happy ending and stuff like that. But I was wondering with the painting being there, I was like, oh, are they going to tie this? Are they going to have some sort of like, is the nun going to look? Because technically, I do not like I feel like everybody kind of puts the nun in the first Annabelle, like they at a really low tier. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure the nun made, I'll look it up while you're talking about it, I think it made quite a good amount of money. So and that was a successful thing for Conjuring too. Like that was some really cool imagery. Do I wish they went with that original demon design? Yes, it was much better than the nun in my opinion for Conjuring 2, but
Mm-hmm.
she was in the basement kicking around.
Well, yeah, that demonic entity, like whatever that was more along the lines of what they went with for Annabelle and Annabelle Creation, which I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I again, like I definitely don't doubt that first Annabelle and the Nun definitely hit their bumps in the road, but they expanded on the stories overall.
Well, yeah, but the difference is because I haven't seen the other two Annabelles, but I've been told they're really good, and I might even watch them in the next week too. Because always after this, I got a Conjuring bug. I always say that. I guess I just keep putting them off, but that I've heard. The Nun, the jury's out because all we got is Nun 1 right now, so the Nun hasn't redeemed themselves.
Well, they're trying to do a second one, weren't they? Wasn't that in talks?
I think, yeah, you're right. Because when I looked into it, which I don't even know how you do a second one with that movie, but when I look into it, like I don't know how you don't do this. Budget 22 million, made 365 million.
Oh my god, that's
Like,
calling for a sequel.
well, yeah, that's like cheap money. Like I have to look at how many. Let's see here, and then divide that by 22 million. So it made about 16.5 times its budget back. Probably a little less because marketing and stuff like that, but still, it made at least over 10 times its budget back. That's what you call a hit, ladies and gentlemen. So, and it helped with the second one. So, how did you, with that knowledge of them saying they had a post-credit scene, and even this director said, like, we may see that in another project, we may see that down the line. It just didn't fit here, but it is leading towards something bigger. And I was wondering if like is there some sort of like Avengers plan, or is there like some sort of like to get a
You
lot
got
of these
the
characters
Nun,
together?
Annabelle, all of them teaming up.
Well, when he said like it would lead to something bigger, to me, like if you're just, I don't think you need to do end credit of like we're making Conjuring 4 and here's the ghost. You don't really need that because people wouldn't get hyped. You don't even know if you're doing a Conjuring 4. But the idea of like, what do you think it would have been like that would, in my opinion, I'm paraphrasing, but he made it sound like linking something, not even linking, like I said, just something big for this franchise. And to me, when he says that means a linking of the sorts, you know, and maybe there's one fucking devil that's behind this the whole time. But what would you take from that as far as the end credit, what it could have been, maybe?
Um, I I don't at all think that it would be like one demon just kind of pulling the strings and controlling all this. I don't believe that.
Thanos style.
I think that would be totally Hollywood in its concept and such. From how I view it, demonic activity does not have such a widespread scale view. They like to latch on and feed off of one thing at a time and just go from the one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And that's all you see. And again, represented in these Conjuring movies, they do such a great job representing that. So a demon controlling all the strings, no, don't believe that. But them leading to more powerful demons, I think that is definitely in the cards, because the nun was literally that was what it was. And again, it doesn't come down to limited one possession at a time. When you're talking about possession, there is layers to it. You can have an individual possessed by multiple demons. You could have a very powerful demon, let's say like nun level at the core, and you're also possessed by all these other ones that have just latched on you and are feeding off of you. And then you have something where when you're trying to be rid of these things inside this person, you're going to see the more weaker ones kind of being like pushed out as like excreted, because you're going to have this powerful thing staying inside and putting all these other ones out. So
I don't want to be possessed by one, let alone a few, you know, that doesn't sound great, you know? Like,
yeah, no, it's not good.
so I looked it up. The next two movies that are in development are The Crooked Man and The Nun 2. That's the only ones that are up.
The Crooked Man.
Yeah. I don't know if that one's happening though, because remember they announced that. I felt like after Conjuring 2, they announced like we're doing another Annabelle, we're doing Crooked Man, we're doing Nun, and we've seen two Annabelles since then. We've seen the Nun 2, like we just talked about, budget makes sense. I don't think the Crooked Man stood out enough to do it, but maybe they will. It's still in development as of right now, and but they'll make the movie cheap, so it's like even if we're to bomb, it won't hurt them. That's the thing. They'll make it like 20 million, and they'll be fine.
If they go that route based on the Conjuring 2 character, I think that's a mistake, because when you watch Annabelle Comes Home, they dive into all the different artifacts that are popping off in that movie, and there's so many more they could go into, like that samurai armor. Like that thing was absolutely terrifying. And actually the what was it? It was like the gatekeeper or whatever. He was like the boatman. So he would basically, or the ferryman, that's it. He was absolutely terrifying in that movie.
You're making me want to watch. And this is all in the Comes Home one, right?
This is the Comes Home one. You have the dog man in there, or like the werewolf looking thing. And then you have the, there's like this TV that shows you how you're going to die before you die. Like it's just, there's so many different like ghostly things in that movie. It's so good.
How come we were talking about this last night? Check out our Spy review, and Chris Bogg in chat saying, "Hey guys, no rest before the tomorrow stream. Rest is for the week." Yeah, that's completely us, Chris. Like how we do.
What's happening tomorrow, Chris?
Yeah. How every extra. I'm pretty sure we've narrowed it down. Extra live stream this year is literally the day after Eternal, so it's like, oh great. So that we're always grinding for you, the fans. But I actually have a pitch for something, and I'm gonna pitch it after this next ad break. So we're back. We were talking about this last night with Dylan with Spiral. We're talking about like a TV series anthology. We kind of went back and forth, like, it could work, could not, because do you lose kind of the point? We like the characters more than the trap. But do you think that could be in the cards for an HBO Max, a Conjuring anthology? I would do it as like an anthology, like you do 6 to 8 episodes, but each episode is about, you don't got to do a full-on big movie with budget, make it 45 to an hour each episode, and they're about one of those things you shut it out, or about an artifact in the house. I think that's money waiting to happen, almost like Tales from the Crypt or something like that, about these artifacts. And it's, because then if one sucks, it's like, well, or even like, to me, The Crooked Man, when I look at it, I go, I don't know if that could be a movie, but if you tell me, hey, we have a 45-minute episode, I go, okay, I'd be down to see that. Like, that's less, I budget, it's less time. And then plus, if any of those episodes really popped, like someone really loved them, that's when you go, you know what, we're going to make a movie out of this. So, Could you see something like that? Because obviously HBO Max is getting big right now. I'm kind of surprised that all we have announced so far is Nun 2 and Crooked Man. I thought we'd be getting another Annabelle. I thought there'd be a Curse of La Llorona kicking around, but it seems like maybe they're just waiting for this film to see how they do. But could a TV series in the future maybe be a thing?
I think it could be. I don't see why they wouldn't want to do some sort of TV series where you have one of the Warrens, like it doesn't even have to be like the same actor, like from the top, like facial view. It could just be like from the neck down and them walking through that
Shazam
room.
style.
Well, like Shazam style, but then just like walking through it, it zooms on like their hand, kind of like moving along all the artifacts, and then it like could hone in on an artifact for like this episode or something like that. Just I think there's a lot of potential, and it just shows a 45 50 minute segment episode of that artifact ruining someone's life, or the last part like house that it was tormenting, and then it shows, okay, now it's ended up here. Warren's basically their case files, right? I just think that it would be very interesting to go along that route because they've got so many bloody cases that they've experimented on.
Yeah, I'll probably save the rest is for the newscast because I don't want to veer off too much from the review. But like, I definitely think Curse of La Llorona is probably the weakest one because it was a $9 million budget and then it made $123 million. So again, it made about 10 times its budget. It did really well, but still, yeah, this is a fact. The lowest grossing.
I don't think many people know that it's in the Conjuring verse, to be honest.
No, and then yeah, it became the lowest grossing Conjuring franchise, though still successful at the box office. And that's why you make these movies dirt cheap, because if they are like that, you made profit. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they are doing a weird thing where they're like hiding it, and then last minute they're like, no, it's in there. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird. Same thing with Lights Out. I don't know why they didn't put Lights Out in this universe. They should have just put it in. I thought that was another fun one. But back to this review, what did you think about our kind of, I guess, like, human / victim people? We had the little boy, and then we had the story of them moving in. We had the young couple, Arnie, and I can't remember her name, the character's name that was his love interest.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't. I'll look it up on IMDb. But what did you think about these kind of round of good guys that the Warrens were helping out?
I like them a lot. I thought that my heart poured out for him, especially Arnie, because
yeah,
like he's just that was so freaky when he's walking down the road and he's got the demonic eyes, like he's possessed, and then the cop shows up and his eyes just fade back to normal. It's like, oh shit. And then the whole time he's in the hospital and he gets that vial of holy water, and my heart pours out to him because he places this holy ring around him and it doesn't help. He just gets absolutely tormented and he starts cutting his wrists, and it's just so shitty.
The character's name was Debbie. That was the one that was the sister. Yeah. And I really I had to look her up because I liked him enough. I really liked the kid. And then I had to look her up because I've not seen her in anything, but I don't know if I might save her for a potential comic book draft because I really liked her. I thought she really popped in this role, with the role that could have been annoying, but when you have the weakest part in The Conjuring 1 is the dad character, because he, like, to me, like, I like him enough, but he's just like always worried for his wife. He's very just kind of one note, where that character can be that when you're just like, what's your character? Oh, I'm worried about my significant other. I felt like she had some character in there, a little bit different. I just thought she did that role well.
Mm-hmm.
I like, obviously we'd seen the trailer, but I liked the setup of the waterbed and everything like that. I wish they did show it, but I wish they actually didn't show it in the trailers, because I think they have enough with the Conjuring name. Because the fact that I'd known pretty much exactly what was going to happen in that scene, I think it would have been the effect of not knowing what would happen would have been really cool. But I like that. Man, what bad luck, you move in and it's not water damage. It's just that there's like these little witchcraft things, heirlooms around the house, just rotting it, like literally rotting it. Like that moment when they get all the flowers delivered and that one set of flowers just completely rots out and everything like that. It's like, yeah, you literally have this thing in your home, just like, it's literally like a cancer that's just there and it's like growing and everything like that. I will ask you though, because you brought this up, and this might be a hole for the film, I don't know, but when they go like, oh, the demon, like he needs one, when you go back to hell, like one soul, and then they take the girl, but they take like the evil girl. How come it took so, like, don't you feel like there's maybe an easier way for her to get like a soul? Because like,
it's just the method that it had to be executed, right?
Right.
So again, there are rules in certain methods that you have to adhere to, and so obviously the way that Hollywood wanted to pursue it with this movie is that she chose a method to obtain a soul, and this was the route she had to go. It had to be done by having, I can't remember how the guy explained it, but you need the holy man, a man of God, and two other figures of certain demeanor or of certain type to basically kill, and then it basically would grant them a soul, I guess, or provide one. I'm not a demonic
No.
Satanist, so I can't speak to it. Just from what I learned from the movie, though, and what they said, it just sounds like she had this guideline that she needed to adhere to.
One thing, and I guess because they do say these are based on true stories, so I like this. I like the fact that we still had consequences with the thing Arnie did. Now he didn't choose to do that, but the demon took him over. He killed the guy. They declare it manslaughter. I've not done what you did. I want to go look in these cases because I always do after. I like to watch the YouTube videos, stuff like that. But I like that at the end of the day, like, no, he still killed this guy and he does have to do some time. I'm not sure how they got him for manslaughter. I imagine they must have. The lawyer must have tried to change up like he was under the influence or something. Because I guarantee if they would have said like, hey, if you are possessed, there's no way you're getting 5 years. You're going to get longer. And, well, I like that little fact of she waited for him and they're still married, which is a crazy fact. Like if Madison went to prison for 5 years because she killed someone, but then she said the devil made her do it. Like, are you waiting around, Taylor?
I would want to wait. Yeah, I would get some help to figure it out, but I would want to wait. I do
So what if you get the help though, and they're like, no, she's completely bullshit. She's not with possessed soul. There's no signs.
I'd have a serious conversation. I do like how basically they're trying to convince the lawyer, and they're like, "Oh, why don't you come over for dinner? We'll show you Annabelle." And she's just kind of, and then you like, it's in the courtroom. I chuckled because she was just so dead serious. I'm wondering, like, did they like lock her in the room and unleash everything? Like, they must have showed her something.
Well, that or they showed her all the footage and everything like that. And I was fine with them kind of skipping over that because you just have to convince them. But yeah, it would have been. That's why I want to look in the real story of like clearly the Warrens were. I think that's what was embellished as far as I bet they said there was a possession they looked into and they came into it. And that's why they're around the court case. Who knows if they actually won this little venture. I did love all the things they did with Lorraine, though, as far as she's seeing through like the evil villain's eyes. Like she's very much like an X-Men now, to be honest. Like she's always gotten a bit more powerful, but I feel like in the first movie it was just like every once in a while she might like see something or feel something, but now it's like she's just touching things left, right, and center like Rogue, and she's getting visions, she's jumping into people's bodies. But I loved the whole like clutching of that dead hand on the morgue, and then you got the relationship, you got the flashback of like what I think was insinuated that they were like maybe a romantic couple that maybe hadn't come out yet because that wasn't a thing back then because like you were looked upon down. But I loved that scene because it was very nice. They're exchanging gifts and she just pulls out a knife and just starts killing her, and then she realizes what she's doing. Like acting all around was good, but I liked that the first one to me felt very much like both their film. The second one definitely felt more like Ed's film, and this felt more like Lorraine's film, which I like because I like them both a lot, but I personally like the Lorraine character a bit more, maybe just because I like Vera Farmiga a lot. But I liked everything they did with her as far as the visions. I liked Ed's little heart problem they gave him with, the demon, like, I don't know, kind of took him down a few notches. But I really liked all the touches of the jumping into a body or a vision or seeing things. I thought they did a really good job with that and imagery as well.
Yeah, that big boy. Oh my god! Oh, yeah. Like I was just getting like Dawn of the Dead flashbacks for a second there. Mm-hmm. Like I give so much credit to husbands in many scenarios, and I really felt bad for Ed because he's standing there, his wife is in a trance, and there's equal, the hand, Lorraine. Yeah, like what do you do? Like you look and you see this man is literally 5 times bigger than you, sprints almost just as fast as you, and your wife is in a trance and can't move over in the same distance to this thing as you are to your wife. And like he's like, Lorraine, you need to break free. Like yeah. Lorraine, you gotta let go of the hand. and just when the thing's slowly turning, I didn't know if it was gonna run at him or run at Lorraine. I guess that's the other thing you have to like brace for. Like, well, what do you do? Emily has got her hand on this thing and is in this trance. What do you do in this scenario when you see this man who's literally 5 times bigger than you are?
Well, if I knew what he knew, I thought she would have had to physically let go of the hand. I didn't know he could just tackle her and that would break the trance. If I had known that, then I'm just right away running over there, getting her off the thing so she could wake up. But I thought it was like, oh, she has to come back before she can come back to the world. But really, he just had to detach her from whatever she was touching. So he made the right move. A little too late, but like no one got hurt or anything. But he should
You
have
would have
moved.
gone right away as soon as you turn the dial for the lights. You would have noticed that thing standing there. You would have immediately booked it
Yeah,
back.
I think so because like
Really?
at that because if you get the hand off the other hand, the trance is broken, and then that thing's gonna fall to the ground, right? So I'm gonna ask you this question because I'm bringing this up right now before I forget. So one vision I not didn't like, but was the ending of when she's running in the woods and we get to the cliff and she like falls off it. We had seen in the trailer, and I didn't think it was a good scene. I still don't think it's a good scene where something pops up, grabs her leg. That for me was some bad CGI. Them on the mountain, when he pulls her up, they're completely, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but to me, it just looked like they're in a green room kind of Marvel style where none
Yeah.
of these trees are real, none of that. And it's just like, I'm sure it is cheaper, but at the same point, like, I think with these movies, the horror movies like this, especially coming from The Conjuring, I love feeling this authenticness feel. So, was that one the CGI things? If not, what were the CGI things that really bugged you this go around?
Yeah, that was one of the CGI things that bothered me. I totally get what they were going for with having this cult woman kind of appearing and speaking to Ed in the house, and she just kind of like fades away. Like I understand what they were going for, but I didn't like that kind of thing because again, it felt like okay, they're just dishing out superpowers now. I think the big boy when Ed was like casting the rights on him in the hallway, that CGI of him stretching backwards was just a little too out, like not didn't work on me. It was so
Yeah.
open CGI, whereas you have again the other scene where the guy Arnie was in the house and his friend coworker was looking all demonic. Like there were bits that looked really good, but when it was like growling at him up close, the CGI wasn't on point there. Now I defer to Annabelle, specifically Annabelle Creation, because you have them doing something with this figure who's like growing super super long and demonic, but they play with the camera angles. The CGI is limited because they have the aesthetic very dark and they work it in their advantage. And I think it was
Mhm.
executed very well. And I wish that this movie replicated that. We don't need to see the big bad out in the open because as soon as you dish out this big bad out in the open, then you're basically proclaiming that okay, this is the villain, and it takes away an element of scariness to it because you put a
Plus, to be
face to
honest,
it.
yeah, and plus, to be honest, like you put a face to it, and I think she is scary in her motives in some scenes she gives her. But if you're just talking about the Conjuring trilogy, she's definitely like the least. I think she's scary because of her actions, but just appearance wise, she's the least scary. She's just a woman
Mm-hmm.
in a black dress. Where it's like you look at the ones we've gone before, right? Annabelle, we got in Bathsheba, we got what is you got Crooked Man, you got the Nun. Where this is just like okay, a woman that's a priest's daughter who took up some bad stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the priest? Good, like I said, the hand of Gond, or what was it, the hand of Gondor, or what is he
The
again?
Stewart of
The
Gondor.
Spear of Gondor. Yeah, what do you think about John Noble? John, I thought he was fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. I thought it was interesting because like when he first met the Warrens, I thought it was okay. This is a cool like concept. The church is basically sending him off to see this guy who specializes in this part of the occult, and then you have the reveal. And I didn't. I love that reveal because I wasn't expecting it. Like, oh yes, I had this daughter, and leading him to the basement. I felt a little unsettled at first when you basically have him taking them downstairs, and Lorraine is just immediately like, I don't want to go down there, and that raises
Yeah.
the hairs in the back of your neck, and it was done really well. And I think that sets the tone. Okay, maybe something is off with this guy, but you don't obviously know about it, but that whole scene just set it up very well because like Ed's like reaching out to grab books and Lorraine's just like no, don't. Um, so I think him as a character is really cool, or not really cool, but really executed well. I do feel bad for him how he passed because he was again you don't want to be in that situation ever, and your daughter's coming at you, and he just had the gun there and just
Is she technically still alive?
no.
Okay. Because that was my problem is like I felt like they tried to have it both ways where she was alive, but maybe there was just demon stuff going on. Because when she killed him, she literally teleported behind him to like slit his throat. But then there's other times where I thought she was alive, and that's when they're like, well, but at the same time, she wasn't alive. She like they're like, oh, he has to take some sort of soul, and then she died. I think I'd argue that she is still alive, to be honest, because if you're dead, you're not taking that soul, in my opinion. That would be like some sort of wretched soul or something. I to me, I thought they wanted like a living soul, but maybe you have.
No, like a soul is a soul. When you kill someone, you're obviously tainting it. But no, all you're a living thing. You have that soul. She obviously she made a bargain to do demonic stuff to get this get a soul for a demon and whatnot. And it's the way I see it is she wasn't making a deal to trade her soul for anything. She's making a deal for something, some benefit and she would get them a soul that was not hers. She was basically doing it differently like that, where you can trade your soul to the devil for whatever you want, or you can do very horrible things and follow these rituals to get other souls for the devil.
Yeah, fair enough. I just like I think I definitely lean to she probably is more on the dead demonic side, just because, like I said, she was moving around a lot. But like I said, I liked them. I didn't think it wasn't a twist like mind blowing, but I liked it. Okay, daughter, stuff like that. Like I liked the route we were going. I did like the foreshadowing of something was down there, and yeah, I really liked him. I'm gonna look at my notes. See, is there anywhere in particular you want to go? Because I think I've hit majority of my biggest notes and character notes and stuff like that.
What else is there? With the little boy, I thought that was yes, actually, with the little boy at the beginning, I thought it was very freaky how when the demon was coming at him basically and he hid in the bathroom. I love that execution of that scene, because like he looks up and the hand is basically just on that rail, and like it isn't. I love it. There's no score, no music, and the fingers just like come up one by one and like pull away. I thought that was really, really well done. That was awesomely scary. And then him just when they open the door and he's standing there, and the dad was. I mean, obviously, you're a father. You're gonna always try to like see if your kid's okay, but the boy's just standing there, and then he charges at the dad with this glass and jabs it right into his like leg just below the kneecap. Oh my god. And then I chuckled because everything that happened downstairs, the dad comes down and he wrapped a bandage around his legs, so they left the dad up there clearly. Yeah, like what happened?
Didn't choose to come down.
No, he didn't choose to come down.
I got stabbed in the knee. I'm not going down there.
When they were dragging the boy downstairs and these demonic claw marks are just scratching along the walls, I thought that was so good. And again, like, I guess you could say that CGI. I don't know what you would call it. It was really good. It's like really freaky.
I think it's definitely CGI. I don't think they tried to like rip it and then made it translucent like the wires. But hey, maybe they did. Maybe they found a way, you know. Anything else before we get into our final scores here?
Yeah, just the hospital scene was really, really good. When he was like his wrists like cracked and he slid him out of the handcuffs. That's just no thank you in a million years. Yeah, him just like bending all over the place on the ground and crawling around, and then he flips up, and then he starts floating, and this poor priest, he's obviously here just to deal with criminals, and now he's got like a 10 on the 10 on the odometer meter, whatever you call it, reading, and he's totally just terrified. But yeah, he was an interesting priest. I always don't like how when these things happen, I always don't like when these things happen and the characters separate. I don't know why Ed would feel comfortable sending Lorraine out on her own. You gotta be no insane.
Choice. It's hard.
I guess, but another thing too with that, when he was talking to his like student sidekick intern about locating where the witch is. I don't understand how they start in the morning and at the end of the day, in the middle of the night now, around midnight, he finally says, "Where did they find her totem on the map?" I feel like that would be one of the main things. Okay, like where were the totems found? Let's see if we can create an area here and work within this grid.
Wasn't that easy back then? They didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, but he could have talked to not using a cell phone, but I don't know why he wasn't talking to his secretary in the room, because they were planning at the end of the night. And he's like, "Oh, where's the totem found?" He's like, "Oh, funny you should ask. She went to school here, but it was actually found here in town, which means the witch is here." It's like, oh, well, that could have been talked about way sooner in the movie, but
hey, they all make mistakes. Ed led. What's her name? What's the main character's name? The female's name?
Lorraine.
We let her go back to that priest house all alone, and he realized it was too late, right? So
well, yeah, that's totally true. Him basically running through there with the sledgehammer, I was giving major Shining vibes.
100%. Between that and even like the bathtub with all the blood in there reminds me of like the elevator with the shooting the blood. But yeah, that was all play or all work no play makes Jack a dull boy kind of situation going on. But because power of love, it's not our weakness, it's our strength. You go out of it.
Yeah, the power of love. Yeah,
power of love.
That's some hippie talk.
Yeah, or church talk.
Or church talk.
Anything else, sir?
No, I think we can go into final thoughts.
Yeah, my final thoughts is kind of very much similar to the overalls as far as I think if you're with us now, if you liked it, didn't like it. I think it was a solid addition to this franchise. I would want more, but if this is in the road, I'll be happy for what I got out of the Conjuring universe, which was just at one point, hey, this one great movie I saw. So I'm going to give it a 7.5. It could go up to an 8, but depending on a watch. I don't think it could go down, but you never know. It could. 0.5s they're very wishy-washy, but that's why I'm going to go 7.5 as right now for this one.
I am gonna go with an 8. I like it more than the second one. I stayed up late to watch it. I really wanted to watch it like when it was spooky time and everything like that, and it definitely, I feel like it delivered. I don't want to say I had low expectations going in, but I was not overly excited. But this being like the fourth movie where we get like some Warren's action, I just think that was, and I say fourth because you have to watch one of the Annabelle movies. I won't say which one.
I think I know the one with home in the title.
But yeah, it was an adventure, and it had a lot of, like I said at the beginning of the cast, it had a lot of like fresh takes to it, because you have this witch and this basically forced, cursed, demonic possession, which I can't recall in a movie, but they did it in this movie, and they did it very well to me. So I don't think it has any other competition on that front, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it definitely has resemblance to the first film. I'm knocking points off because it definitely was a different aesthetic. It felt very light, like when she was running towards the cliff. I like that setup. I like what they were doing, but when it was just so like daylight time and just the CGI hand just comes out of nowhere and pulls her, the cliffs looked extremely like out of Thor Ragnarok, and I wasn't I wasn't really digging it. There's a scene where it looked like even the whole of Ed was CGI'd as he's like on his knees. But there's so many, there's such good chemistry between the two actors, and it had such a great adventure to them and what they were trying to do and overcome. And that end scene when he's like, "I forgot my pills," and she has one in her locket. I just love that so much. They're such a cute couple. So
gotta be when life's so dark. But yeah, it was a nice little touch of she's always taking care of him. So Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've done it. We reviewed Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. Not sure when we'll be talking Conjuring next. We'll probably definitely be tailored on a solo review for sure. But you know what? Hopefully I'll catch up on my Annabelles, and I like joining because I do like this universe. I love the Conjuring. So that was our thoughts. Whether it's on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, let us know what you thought about it. Do you think it was a step up from the second one? Is your favorite one? Is your least favorite one? Where would you rank it? Do you want to see more of the Warrens? So let us know wherever you could comment. And thank you very much for tuning in this review. We promise to hear from us next and not be boring.
Bye-bye.